Have you ever met someone so obsessed with flashy appearances that they literally kicked their own family onto the curb just to show off? That was my sister Chloe, standing on the grand marble porch of our father's multi-million-dollar mansion, telling me to get my cheap suitcases off her driveway. The paint on our father's headstone was barely dry, and Chloe had already decided she was the queen of the castle. She claimed she was the favorite sibling, and because of that, our father's gorgeous estate belonged entirely to her. She even called the police to make sure I left the property within 2 hours. I left, crying, feeling completely betrayed. But there was one massive, hilarious detail my spoiled sister forgot to check before she kicked me out. She forgot to check the property deed. Because exactly 1 week later, she found out our father didn't own a single brick of that mansion. It was actually rented. Let's back up a bit, because to understand how my sister became this incredibly delusional, you need to know a bit about our family dynamic. My sister Chloe was the classic spoiled princess. She was the oldest, and she always knew how to twist our dad around her finger. While I was working part-time during college and driving a beat-up compact car, Chloe was getting a brand new luxury SUV for her 20th birthday. Dad loved both of us, but he had a huge blind spot when it came to Chloe. She was high maintenance, obsessed with designer labels, and constantly bragged to her country club friends about our family's massive wealth. Dad was a successful consultant, and to keep up with Chloe's demands for a high-society lifestyle, he moved us into this gorgeous, 7-bedroom mansion in the most exclusive neighborhood in the city. It had a pool, a guest house, and a marble foyer that looked like a 5-star hotel. Chloe practically made that mansion her entire personality. She posted Instagram tours of our private estate every single week, acting like we were royalty. But then, our father suddenly passed away from a heart attack. The grief was overwhelming for me. I was devastated. But for Chloe, the mourning period lasted about 5 minutes before she started eyeing the inheritance. The morning after the funeral, I was sitting in the kitchen, still in my pajamas, holding a cup of coffee and trying to process the loss. Suddenly, Chloe marched in, accompanied by 2 heavy-set guys in matching t-shirts. "What's going on, Chloe?" I asked, putting my coffee down. "I'm reclaiming my house, Lily," she said, crossing her arms and looking down her nose at me. "Let's be honest, Dad always loved me more. I was his favorite, and I deserve this mansion. I've hired these movers to pack up your things. You have 2 hours to get your cheap, depressing vibe out of my home." I couldn't believe my ears. "Chloe, Dad just passed away. We haven't even met with the estate lawyer yet. We don't even know what his will says. I don't need a lawyer to tell me what's mine," Chloe snapped. "Look around you, Lily. This mansion is a reflection of my social status. You're a quiet librarian who drives a hatchback. You don't belong here. Leave, or I'm calling the cops for trespassing." She wasn't kidding. 10 minutes later, a police cruiser pulled up. To avoid a massive, embarrassing scene, I packed my clothes, my books, and my father's old personal files into my car and drove away. I ended up renting a tiny, 1-bedroom apartment across town. It was small, it was noisy, and the plumbing was sketchy. But it was mine. Meanwhile, Chloe was living her absolute best life. She immediately changed the locks on the mansion, hired a private chef, and started posting photos of her newly inherited estate. She even threw a massive victory party for her rich friends, serving expensive caviar and champagne. She was acting like she was on top of the world. But what she didn't realize was that she was sitting on a ticking financial time bomb. While Chloe was busy popping champagne bottles, I was sitting in my small apartment, sorting through the old personal files I had managed to take with me. My dad was a smart man, but he was also a very practical one. As I went through his tax records and bank statements, I noticed something incredibly strange. There were no property tax documents for the mansion, no mortgage payments. Instead, there was a monthly automatic transfer of $15,000 to a company called Apex Luxury Rentals. My jaw literally dropped. My dad didn't own the mansion. He had been renting it for the last 4 years just to keep Chloe happy, and to maintain a professional image for his consulting clients. And even better, the lease was under his business's name. I dug deeper into the business files and found Dad's official will, which he had updated just 6 months before he passed. Dad knew Chloe was terrible with money. He knew that if he left her cash or businesses, she would blow through them in a month. So, in his will, He left Chloe a modest trust fund of $50,000 cash, and left the entire consulting business, including all its accounts, assets, and contracts to me. Which meant, legally, I was now the owner of the company that was paying the $15,000 monthly rent for Chloe's inherited mansion. And the next rent payment was due in exactly 3 days. I sat back in my chair, a slow, quiet smile spreading across my face. I called the property manager of Apex Luxury Rentals, a very professional man named Mr. Harrison, and explained the situation. "Mr. Harrison," I said, "as the new owner of my father's business, I am officially terminating the lease on the mansion. We will not be renewing it, and we will not be paying the rent due this Friday." There was a pause on the other line. "I understand, Miss Carter. If the rent is not paid by Friday at 5 p.m., we will initiate immediate eviction proceedings against whoever is currently occupying the property." "Perfect," I said. "I'll let you handle that." I went to sleep that night feeling incredibly peaceful. The stage was set, and Chloe's glass castle was about to shatter. A week after she kicked me out, Chloe was hosting another lavish lunch party on the mansion's patio. She was in the middle of bragging to her friends about her family's multi-generational wealth, when there was a loud, aggressive knock on the front door. Chloe walked over, expecting a delivery of imported flowers. Instead, she found Mr. Harrison standing there, accompanied by 2 burly security guards and a legal representative. "Can I help you?" Chloe asked, crossing her arms. "If you're looking for donations, my staff handles that." "We're not here for donations, ma'am," Harrison said, handing her a bright red folder. "We are here because the monthly rent of $15,000 for this property is 48 hours overdue. Since the leaseholder, Carter Consulting, has officially terminated the contract. You are currently occupying this property illegally." Chloe laughed, a high-pitched, hysterical sound. "Rent? Are you insane? My father owned this mansion. I inherited it." "Your father leased this mansion, Miss Carter," Mr. Harrison said, pulling up the original contract on his tablet. "Here is the lease agreement. Your father's company paid the rent. But the new owner of the company, your sister Lily, has canceled the payments. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises, or we will have you physically removed." Chloe's rich friends, who had overheard the entire conversation from the foyer, immediately started whispering. Within 5 minutes, they had all made polite excuses and rushed to their luxury cars, leaving Chloe standing alone in the massive, empty hallway. She was absolutely frantic. She called me 30 times in a row, her texts going from aggressive demands to desperate begging. I finally answered on the 31st call. "Lily, you have to fix this." Chloe screamed into the phone, her voice cracking with panic. "Some crazy landlord is trying to kick me out. They're saying the house is rented. You need to pay the rent from Dad's company account immediately." "I'm being humiliated. I can't do that, Chloe," I said calmly, taking a sip of my tea. $15,000 a month is a ridiculous waste of money. I've already rented a sensible office space downtown for the company. "But where am I supposed to live?" she shrieked. "I'm the favorite. I deserve to live in luxury. You're ruining my life." "You have your $50,000 trust fund, Chloe," I replied. "That's more than enough to rent a very nice, normal apartment. I suggest you start packing. After all, you're very good at packing bags. You did mine in under 2 hours, remember?" The line went dead. 3 days later I drove past the mansion one last time. I saw Chloe loading her designer suitcases into her luxury SUV, which she would also have to sell soon because she couldn't afford the monthly lease payments. She looked completely broken, her fake, high society lifestyle stripped away in a matter of days. She ended up moving into a tiny studio apartment on the bad side of town. She had to get an actual 9-to-5 retail job just to pay her utility bills. As for me, I kept running Dad's business successfully. I stayed in my cozy apartment for another year, saved my money, and eventually bought a beautiful, modest home of my own, one that I actually owned, not rented. At the end of the day, people who build their lives on flashy lies and stepping on others will always get a reality check. True wealth isn't about the size of the house you rent to impress strangers, it's about the peace of mind you have when the truth finally comes out. So, what do you think? Did I do the right thing by cutting off the rent, or should I have helped my sister stay in the mansion? Let me know in the comments below. If you love this story of quiet revenge and ultimate justice, make sure to hit